Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leslie. So today I will be sharing with you guys my all-time favorite binge-worthy Netflix shows. So the very first one that I want to share with you guys is The Blacklist. If you haven't seen this one, it's basically about a criminal who's in the most wanted list. He gets caught by the FBI, or well, he lets himself be caught. And then he strikes a deal, so basically he works with the FBI in exchange for his freedom, and it's just very fun because you get to see his relationships and interactions with the FBI agents and everything, and those relationships grow. And it's just weird to see that because he's a criminal and they're supposed to be like the law or whatever, but it's really cool. He's messed up, but then again so are they, and everyone's a little messed up, you know. So the next show that I want to share with y'all is Cable Girls. This one is one of my favorite. I hated the ending though, but that's another story. The focus is on four friends. They all come from different places. One of them comes from a small town, one of them is a rich girl, the other one is an imposter, and then the other one is a mom who is basically in an abusive relationship. And they all come together and they work at this place where they have to connect calls. It's like in the 1900s in Spain, and it's really cool because you get to see how at first they were all reluctant to be friends with each other, but then their relationship grows and they all just start building such a strong bond, and obviously a lot of drama happens, and there's also a lot of fighting for women's rights and starting to gain equality. I don't know, it's cool to see that. Okay, so my next one is this one is another Spanish show, and it's called Alta Mar, or High Seas. It's about two sisters who embark on a trip, and one of them is gonna get married during that trip on the ship, right? But obviously things don't go the way that they're supposed to. In the first season, obviously someone dies, and then there's a lot of trust issues between people, but then romance sparks between other people, and it's just cool. And then the second season is also really good. It had me on my toes the whole time, and y'all should really go check it out because it's just great. This next one is called Velvet, and there's two parts to it. There's Velvet, and it has a couple of seasons, and then there's Velvet Colección, and they're a little different. The first one is based on this couple who they've known each other since they were kids, but the guy is rich and the girl is poor, and she works for his family, so obviously the family is against it, but then the dad dies and he inherits the whole thing, but obviously it doesn't go good, and there's another woman involved, and it's cool. If you like romantic stuff, then you're gonna love it because there's a lot of it. And then so the second part, Velvet Colección, is less about them, but they still come out a little bit, but it's mostly based on their friends. They made more stores because Velvet is a store, and so they started opening up more stores in different places. And obviously it keeps going with the romantic theme and all that, so it's pretty neat. And then there's the final season or whatever. It's not on the show, it's a movie, which is also on Netflix, so if you want to watch something that's pretty long, then you should totally watch that. So staying on the theme of Spanish shows, this one is called Grand Hotel, or Grand Hotel, and it is so good. It starts out with a guy named Julio, and he goes to this hotel, the Grand Hotel, where his sister was working. But when he gets there, he is super shocked to find that she has disappeared. No one has seen her for a while because apparently she got fired, but I mean that's not what happened. So he stays to find out what actually happened because he doesn't believe the story. He's like, my sister would never stop writing to me like that, and I haven't heard from her in a whole month. So regardless of whether if he was fired or not, like, it's suspicious that she didn't write to me, you know? But yeah, and then obviously there's a lot of romance in it, there's murders, there's everything you need. So moving on, this next show is called Lock and Key, and it's about three siblings who lose their dad in an accident at their home. I'm not gonna go into detail on that because you'll see what happens, but so they moved to this small town where the dad was from, and they inherited this huge house. But when they move in, the little brother is the first one to find out that like something weird is going on, but no one else believes him until they see it. And obviously it has to do with keys and locks, because I mean that's the title. But it's pretty cool because basically those keys give them abilities if they find the right lock to use with them. So it's like a whole mystery thing, and then they start figuring out why the dad died. So yeah, it was good. Like, you should 100% watch it. It only has one season, but a second season is coming, so you know, you could start watching it now, and then by the time the second season comes out, you're gonna be all caught up. Oh yes, okay, so this next one is Dynasty. It's basically about a wealthy family that it has very spoiled children, and there's a stepmom involved, and there's a lot of fraud going on and like competition. It's just really cool if you like to see people fighting. The wealthy family are the Carringtons, and the daughter is Fallon. So at some point, like, Fallon makes her own company or whatever, and she starts going against her dad. So obviously he's pissed off, and they start going like head to head, competing like company wise, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like it keeps you on your toes. It's really interesting, and you should 100% watch it because it's just great. So this next one, I'm pretty sure like most of y'all have watched it. It's Riverdale, like my shirt, you know. So I really like this show. Like, the beginning is interesting. It's very unrealistic, but I feel like that's just why so many people like it. It's basically about 4 teenagers, and they become best friends, they date and all that, and they solve murders in which basically their parents are involved and they're the murderers, and they're crazy and all that. And it's just fun because they start finding out like about their own families, and they also discover themselves and start growing. So I don't know, it's pretty neat to see like how they start gaining confidence and how their friendship makes them stronger than if they were just doing it by themselves, because a lot of it they couldn't have done by themselves because it's just too much for one person. I mean, it's too much for the 4 of them, obviously, because they're teenagers, but like, it's just cool to see that friendship can keep people going even when like they're going through some very like tough things. So like, you should 100% watch it if you want. Okay, so the next one is my favorite superhero of all time. So I don't know if he's a superhero, but he's a hero. So this one is Arrow. If you've never watched it, it's basically about a rich kid. Basically, he gets stranded, and the dad kills himself so he can survive, and he ends up in this island, and he spends there a while. He gains some like techniques and practices that he uses later on when he is a hero in his city, trying to avenge like his father and protect his city. So it's pretty nice. There's also like some romance, like always. Okay, so the next one is called The Order, and this one is basically there's werewolves, witches, I think that's it. But it's a guy who, I think both of his parents died, and he's living with his grandpa, and he goes to his university, and he gets accepted into this the Blue Flower Secret Society, I think, and obviously he finds out about all these magical things, but then it turns out that he's something else as well. So they go against him, and then there's bad guys, and then he gets back on their good side, and then people get their memories erased, and then they remember, and then they get them erased again. So it's pretty cool because like, it's very intriguing, because you're like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen next, you know? Like, are they gonna figure it out, or are they gonna keep like being on like the trap? And there's a lot of plot twists. So it's just like, alright, so moving on, This next one is my favorite of all time. It's called Once Upon a Time, and it's basically about like all the fairy tales come to life, like Snow White, Prince Charming, Peter Pan, like all of them, and they live in this small town and they don't remember who they are. Like they think that they're normal, ordinary people, not like characters from like Disney movies, like Snow White. But Snow White and Prince Charming, who are in there as well, had a daughter, and she doesn't remember anything, but she had a son who she gave to adoption, and he comes and looks for her and tells her that she is the daughter of Snow White and Prince Charming, and obviously she thinks he's crazy, but she can't abandon him, so they end up going to that town, and then from there, like, there's a huge ass adventure, and it's really cool because they end up going back and forth between the fictional world and the real world, so I don't know, it's nice. And then mostly when you get to where Captain Hook comes in, because I don't know, he's like, I don't know, I just love him, and his personality is like, you think he's mean, but it's actually misunderstood. So you know, we all love those guys, right? So this one, it's like a classic. I'm pretty sure everyone has watched or at least heard of it. So it's Grey's Anatomy. I love the show because it has so many plot twists in their life that it's like, how do they even survive that? But I love the friendships that are built in there. It's obviously a medical show, and if you watch it, you'll probably end up feeling like you're a doctor if you watch all 17 seasons. Well, actually 16, but the 17 is coming. But a lot of people stop watching it at around the 8th season because a certain character dies. If you've already watched it, then you know who died. They kill a lot of our favorites, just saying. So if you want to cry, you should 100% watch it because it's gonna make you cry a lot. So related to that one is Private Practice. I actually just started watching this one, but I'm like, I love it so much already. It has Addison, who in Grey's Anatomy is Derek's wife in the beginning, so I really hated her. I couldn't stand her, but on Private Practice, I actually really love her. She's such a sweetheart, and I don't know, just such a nice person. Because I feel like in Grey's Anatomy, they just made her look like she was a witch and everything. But honestly, she's really talented, and yeah, she messed up, but we've all messed up, you know? And I mean, it's not like Derek was a saint either, just saying. I don't know. Comment your thoughts about it if you've watched Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice, and tell me what you think. Do you agree that like Addison is better in Private Practice, or did you also love her in Grey's Anatomy? Okay, so moving on, this one's technically kind of like medical as well, but it's not. It's called Spinning Out, and it's about a girl who loves skating, but she has some mental health issues, and so she has to battle with those throughout the whole thing while trying to train and win a contest on ice skating. And I don't know, like, it only has one season and it came out in 2020, so I'm waiting on the second one because I really want to know if like she did or not, because you know, season's always gonna end on a cliffhanger, otherwise you're not gonna want to watch. I'm still waiting. Now I'm gonna talk about Greenhouse Academy. If you've never watched this, it's basically about teenagers. It's like not the best show that I've ever watched, but it's really cool. Like, once you get into it, you can't stop watching it. And so it's about two brothers. Their mother, she was an astronaut, and she died on one of her missions, and they end up going to the school that she went to. But there they start discovering a lot of stuff. In the school that they go to, it's basically like houses. There's the Eagles, and I don't know what the other ones are, but you get put into one or the other depending on, I think, your personality or something. It's pretty cool, but the sister and brother get put into different houses, and then there's a love triangle, and then there's secrets uncovered and all that. So it keeps you interested. That's why I'm like, if you decide to start watching it, you're not gonna be able to stop because it's good. So this next one is called Virgin River. I really loved it. It's about a girl who, she's a nurse, and she moves into this small town, Virgin River, and she did it because of something that happened when she was in, I think, LA. I'm not gonna go into detail about what happened because I think it's told late into the story, so I don't want to spoil anything. But she gets there, and the house that they give her, it's horrible. She was promised something good, but she starts like learning her way around the small town, how to get from one place to another, and she starts building a relationship with the community because they're a small community, and obviously it's hard to like be the new one because everyone already knows each other and they trust each other. And when you're like, and since you're the new one, obviously you're like left out. And she finds love, but you know, it's never that simple. So yeah, go watch it and find out why it's not that simple. So this next one, it's called Trinkets, and it's about 3 girls. So their names are Mo, Tabitha, and Elegy. And okay, so Elegy, she lost her mom and she started stealing. Tabitha, she was a rich girl. I don't know why she started stealing, but she was actually good at it. The only one that hadn't actually stolen and she was just covering for her brother was Mo. And they all end up at that meeting, and afterwards, like they know they would go to the same school, so they like start talking, and then they go and they do a bet and they steal, and then they become best friends. They all go through problems like abusive boyfriends, parents in jail, and stuff like that, you know, normal stuff. No, I'm just kidding, it's not normal. So the next one is The Island, and I think it only has 1 or 2 seasons. I hope they come up with another one because it was so good. But basically, a group of criminals are put in an island, and they don't remember that they were criminals. They don't know what they did. All they know, I think it's their names because they're on their shirts. And then they start finding stuff and their real personalities start coming out. It's hard because they have to survive in an island where there's literally no one else, and they have to like learn how to make their own shelter, get their own food and all that, which is obviously not something that we're used to. Eventually they find out what the truth is and why they're there, but I'm not going to talk anymore about it because I'm going to spoil something, and it's really interesting, so I really don't want to spoil anything. Okay, so now we're getting into the talk of vampires. Okay, so this first show is called V-Wars. So basically global warming starts melting the glaciers, and when the glaciers start to melt, a lot of the like diseases and stuff that had been frozen there start to come out. And so one of those diseases, or I think they're called pathogens, I don't remember. And the point is that the people who get those pathogens or diseases turn into vampires. So it puts friends against friends because obviously someone had to figure out what was going on and they had to go there and come back. So it spreads, that's all I'm saying. Okay, now we're gonna talk more about vampires. This next one is like a classic. If you haven't watched it, I don't know why you haven't watched it, but to watch it, it's called Vampire Diaries, and it's basically about these 2 brothers who are vampires. Their names are Stefan and Damon, and there's this girl, Catherine. Catherine basically turns both of them, and they live in a town called Mystic Falls, and it basically all starts when they come back. 1 or more of them falls in love with Elena, and this town is pretty cool because there's witches, werewolves, and vampires. Like, this one a vampire boyfriend. But yeah, there's a lot of debate about who's better, Stefan or Damon. Personally, I could never decide, but comment down below what do you think. Like, if you watched it, who's better? Used to think like at the beginning that Stefan was better, and then I thought Damon was better, and then I could not decide, and I hated the ending. Like, it was bad. If you watched it, like, you know, comment down below what you thought about that ending. It literally killed me. But yeah, there's a lot of drama that goes on with like love triangles, and then werewolves and vampires, vampires and witches, and you know, just a lot. Related to this show are the originals and legacies. So the originals are about the original vampires. It tells you the story of how vampires came to be and basically the history of the original vampires, what it was like living for hundreds and hundreds of years, going through all the different centuries, and obviously having to put up with the same people for all that time, because obviously it's hard to put up with people for that long, you know. There's a lot of sibling killing sibling, or well, putting sibling to sleep. Klaus that does that a lot. Like, he's the master of putting his siblings to sleep. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything more about that. And Legacies, on the other hand, is about the children of people from the Vampire Diaries and the originals. The main character is Hope Michelson, the daughter of Klaus Michelson, and she is a badass. She has so many powers and different things that she can do, and it's just like whatever, okay. And it also has these twin witches that are sisters, and they're the daughters of someone from the Vampire Diaries. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it. But I really love how they played that off with the twins. Just saying, if you watched it, like, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you should watch it so you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that is it for the video. I hope the recommendations were helpful to you guys, because I know that we all need a good show to distress from school because it's stressful, and more during this quarantine. Get me started with it. I want it to end. But if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. See you all next time.